Today, we're going to talk about something we see on maps all the time, but maybe don't think about too much: borders. And trust me, they're way more than just lines on a map. They are a huge force that shapes our entire world. So, let's just kick things off with a little thought experiment. Picture that world map you know so well. Now, what if I told you to imagine a time when all those clean, sharp lines just weren't there, right? How would that totally change how we see nations, people, and everything else? Okay, so first things first, what exactly is a border? Well, it's a geographical boundary. Sometimes nature does the work for us, think mountains or rivers, and other times it's drawn by people, governments through treaties or conflict. So it's this mashup of the natural world and very human decisions. But here's the thing that might surprise you. This idea of a super precise line you can step over is actually pretty new. For most of human history, you had these kind of murky, fuzzy zones called marchlands. These were areas where one kingdom's power just sort of faded out and another's began. No clear line in the sand. So how in the world did we go from these blurry zones to the hard lines, the passports, the checkpoints we have today? Well, let's dive in and see how these modern borders got drawn.
When you really boil it down, modern borders fall into two main categories. You've got your natural borders, the ones that follow the curves and bumps of the Earth itself, and then you've got geometric borders, which are basically straight lines drawn by people with a ruler, completely ignoring whatever mountains or rivers might be in the way.
Yeah, natural borders are kind of the OG borders, using a massive mountain range like the Alps to separate France and Italy, or a river to create a clear divide. And here's a cool little tidbit for you. When a river is the border, the line is often drawn along something called the Thalweg, which is actually the deepest part of the channel. And get this, it can move over time. And then you have the total opposite of that, a geometric border, like the massive one between the US and Canada. It just follows the 49th parallel, a line of latitude, for thousands of kilometers. It's a perfect example of humans just deciding, nope, we're drawing a line right here, no matter what the land looks like. All right, so we've got the lines on the ground covered. But get this, borders aren't flat. They're not 2D. They're actually 3D. They go way down into the ocean and stretch all the way up into the sky. So let's head off the coast and into the sea. A country's control doesn't just stop at the beach, Its power extends out into the ocean, and that's where maritime borders become incredibly important. And these lines aren't just for, directing boat traffic. Maritime borders, which are recognized by the UN, decide who gets control over incredibly valuable resources. We're talking about who gets to drill for oil, who gets the fish. It is a massive deal for any country's economy. All right, so we've gone down into the water. Now let's look up, because borders go up too. This is what really shows you that third dimension. It's like a country has this invisible bubble of air above it. And that bubble goes all the way up to what's called the Kármán line, about 100 kilometers high. If you cross that line, you are officially in outer space. Okay, so we've figured out what a border is and where it is. But the big question is, what does it all mean? How do these lines on land, in the sea, and up in the air actually shape our daily lives and the world we live in?
Some borders are so open you might not even notice you've crossed one. A perfect example is Europe's Schengen area. You can just cruise between 29 different countries, no passport check, nothing. It's all about making life, travel, and business as easy as possible.
And then you have the polar opposite, a fortified border like the Korean DMZ. This thing is one of the most heavily armed places on Earth. It's not a line, it's a wall, a fortress, designed to stop everything and everyone from crossing. Borders can also lead to some really, really fascinating economic situations. Just look at this number, $300 million. That's the estimated value of livestock that gets sold unofficially, kind of under the table, across Ethiopia's borders every single year. That is way more than their official trade number. Now, if you've ever crossed an official border, you know it's a whole process, right? It's not just about stamping a passport. You've got visa checks for people, customs officials looking through your bags for goods, and even quarantine procedures to make sure animals or plants don't bring in any diseases.
But here's a really interesting question. What happens when a border gets erased from the map? Does all that history, that division, just disappear with it?
Well, the answer is not really. Not at all, actually. And this is where we get to this super cool idea called a relic border. You can think of it like the ghost of a line that used to be there. It has no legal power anymore, but you can still see and feel its presence in the culture, the economy, even in how the land looks. The absolute classic example of this is the old border between East and West Germany. The Berlin Wall is long gone, right? But even today, decades later, you can still see real differences in things like voting patterns and economic success along that old, invisible line. It's just incredible proof that even when the line is gone, its shadow can stick around for a very, very long time.
So all of this leaves us with one final big question to chew on. In this world of instant communication, of hopping on a plane and being halfway across the globe in hours, we talk a lot about a borderless world. But as we've seen, borders are incredibly powerful. So are they actually becoming a thing of the past? Or are they becoming more powerful than they've ever been?